Welcome to another episode of the Voices for Voices TV show and podcast. I'm your host, founder, and executive director of Voices for Voices, Justin Allen Hayes. Thank you for joining us today and for tuning in to our well over 205 episode catalog of shows. And we're reaching global, over 50 countries, 560 cities. It really grows by the episode, and still can't do this without you. So thanks for tuning in wherever you're at, whether you're viewing this or whether you're listening on one of the audio platforms as well. So uh, we're going to go ahead and jump right in to introduce our guest. And we're just going to, like we always do, have a conversation and share some information that I think some of our viewers and listeners may be interested in, and hopefully uh, will uh, help her career in getting back on track uh, due to, as you've seen on other videos, some unfortunate circumstances. So uh, we want to introduce our guest. This is uh, a Zoom episode, remote at home. That's why you're seeing a little bit of different of the background than in the studio or from other backgrounds. And so our guest is Leanna Shields. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me on. This is a big honor to be on here.
Uh, Thank you. Yeah, we're honored to have you uh, choose our platform to be able to uh, share your message, awareness, and a little bit about who you are, and being a successful author while also being dyslexic. I myself have uh, quite a few mental challenges, from depression to anxiety, ADHD, and on the I'll say the shorter spectrum of autism, with lights and sounds really bother me. Uh, so it's good to have somebody like yourself who is really living it every day, and you're dealing with that on top of whatever publicity, good, bad, and indifferent, that's going on. So you maybe share how you became an author.
Oh, I've been writing since, well, okay, I could go further back and say I've been creating characters since probably the fourth grade.
Mhm.
I was bullied a lot in grade school, which what kid usually isn't at that age. But I had created for myself around 20 different imaginary characters
Mhm.
and or imaginary friends,
Mhm.
and they weren't like the average, I just used air quotes for podcast listeners,
Mhm.
uh, imaginary friends. One was like a winged lion that had three cubs. Let's see, flying rams. There were just, they were very unique. And I was always interested in mythology and fantasy stuff. I call myself a mythology nerd.
Mhm.
I I like to look around at different cultures and see their mythology, and sometimes I get really excited if I find similarities between two different cultures in their mythologies.
Yeah. So when you got started, were you nervous, or was this maybe a little bit of an outlet that you were
It
that
was it was more of an outlet because I was homeschooled, and while it does not sound like it, writing was my recess basically. I
yeah.
was homeschooled at high school. The public school system was not doing well for me.
Mm.
uh, and my mom took me out, decided to quit her job and start her own business to homeschool me. Best thing that ever happened. I actually learned I could learn
Yeah.
because the public school system had not found out I was dyslexic until, again, the same age I started creating characters, fourth grade. I had lost a lot of crucial learning in that time. So,
Yeah, and I think that's a big part of what how like the optics of on the outside. It's and I think it's still like that in a lot of instances today where people want to put individuals with a particular challenge in a silo or in a box and say, if you have this, if you're dyslexic, then you have all these traits and you can't do this, and we're not even going to try, and we're going to do things kind of the way we always did things, as opposed to actually leaning in and finding out that, that clearly you have a ton of talent and not just for yourself, but to be shared with the world. So for people on the outside to say, oh well, Leanna is this or Justin is this, and I think it's half the battle. And so for you to persevere through that, I think is huge for listeners and viewers that life is obviously going to be rocky. There's going to be ups and downs, and as hard as it may be at times, persevering day at a time, minute at a time, is sometimes all we can really do to continue on. And then as you did find that outlet, you started to understand more that you're able to learn and you're able to do a lot of things that individuals wanted to put you in a box and say, oh, you can't do this, so like we're not even going to offer this particular subject or this level because for whatever reason. So I want to say thank you for persevering and even getting through that, because we're finding a lot of people that kind of holds people up, and saying, okay, well, what am I going to do about it? Who's going to listen to me? Who's going to be on my side? And that's part of the organization, Voices for Voices, is to be able to give platform to people like yourself that you're completely fine. We all are. Every human being has some something going on, and whether it's diagnosed or not. So thank you for that, because that's, I think, a big thing to have persevered and kept that confidence with you to this day.
yeah. And when it comes to even the dyslexia, it has actually, I don't, one thing that's helped me is finding great editors with writing, is finding editors who actually love your characters and can see the the life in them, shall we say.
Yeah.
uh, when I first started writing my series Mystic Ranch Mysteries, which I love writing, by the way, it's one of my favorite things I ever wrote. I started with sci-fi, and
Mhm.
that was fun, but I am not well versed in the sci-fi world,
Okay.
shall we
Yeah.
say. I am more versed in the fantasy world.
Hmm.
um, but actually, Mystic Ranch was one of my scariest projects for me to write,
Okay.
because I'm a member of the Choctaw Nation,
Okay.
and I decided to write a Native American character because
Oh,
I don't see those very often in fiction.
right. Agree. And so yeah,
And
and you wanted to be you wanted to have representation of your heritage, your background, and I think that probably made things a little bit easier from that because there's certain things you might not have to research as much because you have that innate knowledge of that.
Oh, it was still a lot of research because I was not as fully raised in it as you might expect.
Mm,
For like my third book, I had to research, and don't get me wrong, when I say research, it wasn't boring research. It wasn't
mhm.
slogging through. For me, it was just like, ooh, input, input, input.
Yeah.
And I had to research the wedding customs for the Choctaw. Like they used to have a special wedding dance that was fascinating to research.
Yeah, and I think what you just explained there, where it's work, but it was interesting work, so it didn't as much feel it didn't feel as much like work where it was just looking into something that you have no idea about that you're not interested in. And so by having that interest, I think that is helpful. And I think some of our viewers and listeners can really just listen and watch. Um, and they don't always have to go uh, super one way or another. That there might be things that they're already doing that they're a part of that they can do. Maybe they don't have to have as much education or certificates or whatever those things may be. They might not have to have, and so that's great. You're able to do that. And is that book available by chance still?
Oh yes.
Okay.
All of the Mystic Ranch Mysteries, book 1 through 3, are currently available on Amazon.
Perfect.
Book 1 is Sparks of Suspicion. Book 2 is Stock Show Stalker, and book 3 is Curses and Vows.
And about how many pages, just for ballpark?
Um, Ballpark, they run around 150 to 200 pages.
Okay. Yeah.
Sparks of Suspicion is the longest because, well, it's the first book and has the most to say and the most to introduce.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. And by you know allowing us to be able to talk to you and speak with you and get your experience and what you love and what you like to do and let people know about the work that you have done and then the work that you're still doing because there's as we know some some publicity some press that's out there and in the space uh, where you're currently at a little bit. And so we want to definitely wrap our arms around you to be able to highlight these types of things because your books are clean, they are for age appropriate, which is part of what the publicity and that's been with with what our listeners and viewers have probably seen the last couple of weeks heavily. And so yeah, so Leanna's books, they're clean, they're age appropriate. So whatever ages she says they're for, that's where the content is. And so children, whatever those ages they may be, and you can maybe explain a little bit of that and why it's so important to you to have
Well, I
clean, age
write cozy
appropriate.
mysteries. Well, I write cozy mysteries, and I love them because they are, as you said, they're clean. They um, a cozy mystery has a very set of rules. There's no sex on the page. keeping cussing to mild if there is any.
Hmm.
Um, the murder itself is not seen on screen. Um, they're a very good way to just escape, and you get a sense of a little community and getting to know the characters through their day to day, and there just happens to be a little mystery that the main character has to solve.
Yeah.
Um, they're good for, I'd say, uh, junior high strong reader to up.
Okay. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I only say strong reader because I tend to get a little wordy sometimes.
Oh, I
Big
do.
words.
Yeah, it's like condensed. Can you and like you don't need to. You can do it a different way. So I totally grasp that. So junior high uh, reader and above, and I think that's just so important to have good, clean, written stories that actually align with what ages and where they're at in school. We see advertisements on TV or YouTube, and everything's made to look the absolute best possible. But then when you go to buy it, it's like, wait, that cheeseburger is not that big, or those fries, or car doesn't look as shiny when I go to the dealer, or what have you. And so there's a little bit of I think a little bit of bait and switch. I think that goes on in different businesses, different groups. And so to really separate you as well as there's, I understand more than you and David that uh, fall into that boat. They're like, hey, we're writing good, clean stories, and we don't want to be kind of caught up in what's happening, and which is a little bit of the fruit of how this interview came about. And so just again, thank you for allowing us to be able to just talk to you and get your feedback, good experiences, uh, and then definitely you'll be able to share if there's other books, other stories, how people can get in touch with you, how they can get in touch with your work, where they can find it, because we want to uplift people. We're we want to take people down. We want to uplift people, and somebody like yourself that is putting your hard earned time, attention, resources into the work that you do deserves to have a fair shake on things. And uh, so yeah, other stories, other things that maybe are in the works, people can look out for. Uh, just kind of plug whatever you want.
Well, I have a lot of irons in the fire, let's say.
Okay.
I not only write, but I also run a podcast called Cappy's Cozy Chair, where I interview all authors in the cozy genre, which it goes beyond the mysteries that I write. There's, hey, if anyone out there writes cozy sci-fi, cozy romance, cozy spy fiction, which I just learned is a thing,
Mhm.
please reach out to me through. I need to update my website for the show because I recently changed the name of the show from the Cozy Sleuth to Cappy's Cozy Cat, thecozysleuth.com, and I
Okay.
will get back to you.
Yeah.
Um, also, I've got tons of other stories out there. Uh, well, not tons, but I do have my first ever science fiction book that I wrote when I was just getting out of college, and it's called The Illustrian Chronicles Slaves Redeemed. That was a fun one to write. That was my first ever sci-fi. I also have a steampunk that was fun to write called The Clockwork Golem, and a steampunk mystery set in the 1920s called The Art of Facts. Kind of think Indiana Jones meets. I'm trying to think of something that a really good example of steampunk, but
Mm-hmm.
basically the main character is a black woman who's an archaeologist in the 1920s, a steampunk sci-fi-ized 1920s, and that one was a lot of fun to write. She goes to Australia to look at a mysterious cave and whole lots of adventures with that. I'm also currently working on, I haven't named it yet, but the main character is a kind of a werecat who runs a music and ice cream parlor in a small Colorado town. It's going to be another mystery.
Oh.
So I got a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah, and it keeps you. I bet it keeps you busy. That well, maybe there's a holding pattern on one project because you're working on. We can only really truly focus on one thing at a time. Where it's good, and I find like even with myself, if there's multiple episodes and I'm editing and getting ready that I can be at a different point where oh well I have the watermark or I have uh, certain with GoPro cameras and others where they actually split up a 30-minute show into usually three or four smaller segments. And so it's that whole you got to merge all that together and so there's things that not everybody thinks about. They think they see, they see us and listen to us and think they're like, oh yeah, like a podcast or a TV show, and there's not much to it, and um, it's good to have that look because that means we're doing something right. But there is still other things, as with writing and creating characters that you have to have a character name and there has to be uh I'm sure like I don't want to call it like a card but like a little profile and as you're doing things so it's not as easy as like oh okay well that would have been easy to write. It's a little bit more in depth than that.
Absolutely. The way I write is, I found a quote once that I love for describing the way I write. I create the character, and then
Mhm.
from then on, I take dictation. So a character will come, like, say, my current character that I'm working on, Leorna McSell is her name. And she comes, tells me her name. The rest of it is just basically me following her. And it's like, okay, I see what you're going through in your world, and
And there's editing,
and
right?
it
Right? It
it's
goes with
funny
it.
because, oh yeah, editing goes with it so much. I often say it's amazing that my editors aren't just shaking their fists at the screen cursing my name because I am horrible with punctuation.
Mm, I second that for me.
I I like to say to when it comes to my punctuation, I am ancient Greek. There is no punctuation that's accurate.
Uh, yeah. Yeah, and I think that's good for others to watch and listen to. You don't have to be an expert on every single aspect that if your car's not working, you want to take it to a mechanic and the like that the things that we're good at, we try to do ourselves and things that we may need a little bit of help, but it's not a bad thing, if we need help, if uh, obviously need it, a book needs editing, so it's kind of like, okay, are you gonna do it, or ask for that help, and being able to streamline those types of things at this point in your career, those are probably things you don't have to think about as much because when you get to uh, a certain milestone that that okay, at this point, here's who I have to reach out to, here's what I need to do. Whereas when you got started, it's like in the early years, you're still feeling that out. I think that's important that no matter what it is, if it's writing a book, if it's mental health, if, asking for help is not a bad thing.
Absolutely. People say writing is a solitary venture. I find it's absolutely the opposite. Just like anything, you need your community around you. You need those who are experts in punctuation,
Hmm.
in something that you're not an expert in. Like at one time, I needed my character to ride through a certain kind of rodeo event. Well, I had a friend who raises horses and did rodeo events. I gave her that scene, and it's like, is this realistic? Is this accurate?
Yeah. No, it's excellent. And so we're coming to the close of our time. Can you reiterate your podcast, the books, where they can be found, and where to maybe get a pulse in the future of you, of when certain projects come to fruition, and so they're able to follow you if you want to share social media or whatever you would prefer.
Of course. My show is Cappy's Cozy Chair. Um, my books are The Mystic Ranch Mysteries, all available on Amazon. On and most of my books will come up. Uh, you can also follow me on my website, leannashieldauthor.com. And oh, that's another thing I need to update
Yeah,
and
yeah,
get a real hitch but
yeah. You're good.
you will get news about what's going on with my books, all that. And
Mhm.
yeah, I'm pretty easy to find and talk to on social media. I'm there and just find me.
Yeah, and you write, excuse me, you write under your name, right? So I mean, Leanna Shields is where people are going to be able to find you. Like ghost writing, is is that something that you have done, or you prefer to have your name on
I've
it?
never ghostwritten. I always write my main books under my name. I did write a couple children's books.
Oh,
Curly and Pugsley's Big Adventure and Curly and Pugsley's Christmas Adventure under a pen name Annalie Shields to sound more
oh,
children's book friendly.
yeah. No, no, great. Did we miss anything that you were trying to share and get the word out?
No, I think we covered everything.
Okay.
I
I
think we
hope
covered everything.
okay. Well, thank you so much, Leanna, for stepping out and talking and I mean it's just a huge thing no matter what, wherever somebody's at, is that come out and talk and uh, talk about ourselves and things that we're doing. But I know that this is a very vulnerable time with certain things, and definitely wanted to give you the opportunity as well as others to come forward and to talk about the work, because there are good authors, there are good people uh, that are that have books, and and content available, that not everybody is in a different boat, that there's good people, and so that's why we wanted to have you on, because you're a good person, and uh, just thank you again for being on.
Well, thank you for the opportunity. It's been great, and I don't get to be on this side of the microphone very often.
Right, yeah, you're opposite, so yeah. uh, well, great. Well, Leanna Shields has been our guest today. Whether you're watching, listening, thanks again for tuning in. Whether this is your first episode or you've been with us for the whole ride, uh, check out Leanna Shields' work. Uh, help her. Check out her books. If you're able to make a purchase or two, you'll please do. Clean books written for uh, age appropriate people and individuals. Uh, Check out her podcast, and if you're interested, definitely follow her. Check out her website, and more to come on that. So more is going to be added. And so next time, until next time, thank you for joining us, and please be a voice for you or somebody in need.